You've tuned into Heroes Wanted. I am your host, Joe Prim. In this episode, we are going to get back into hero theory. I did some podcasts earlier this year on hero theory that were about Gideon, as I was kind of flushing out this idea, this theory that I had about heroes. But first, just want to remind you guys, as I put this thing together and am swapping around and making some changes to this podcast, that this podcast, as the mission changes slightly from time to time, the vision has never changed. And the vision has always been to help fathers get unstuck and to engage life with discipline and purpose. So this theory, this idea that I had earlier this year, as I was playing out with the ideas of Heroes Wanted and what Heroes Wanted was, that's what this podcast became, Heroes Wanted. Why? Because right now our world is devoid of leaders and heroes. So I want to quickly just define what my idea is of a hero. Because a hero isn't your wearing a badge. It's not a set of clothing that you wear. It's not something you sign up for. It's something that you have to live out day by day. It's not inherent of where you were born or a rank or an insignia that you wear. It is living out a creed. And that creed really falls down to one thing, and that's serving others, rising above others in your willingness to serve others where they are at. That, to me, is being a hero. Life in our day-to-day life is not just about us. It's about the impact and how we can help other people survive the day-to-day struggles, the difficulties that they're facing, and that really is what this podcast here, Heroes Wanted, is all about. About helping fathers get unstuck. Why? Why is that my purpose? Why is that the direction that this is going? Because I've been there. I've faced the struggle, and out of that was birthed the desire to help serve others and help them face that struggle and face that too. So, with kind of that definition and that idea out of the way, I wanted to, as I mentioned in that other podcast, or we talked about, actually I think I did 3 podcasts on Gideon, and broke down the 3 struggles that I believe you have to battle in order for the hero to rise. Fear, lies, and expectations of others. Expectations of others. Fear, obvious. Those are the things that we fear. Those are the things that we struggle with facing. Those are the things we avoid. Lies, those are the stories that we tell ourselves. These are the things that hold us back from advancing because we don't think that we can do something, right? I'm a perfectionist. I love things to do things perfectly. I like things to work out the way that they're supposed to. I think even those that aren't perfectionists really are always looking for that storybook ending, right? We want things to end in the right way. We want the good guy to win. So a lot of times we, again, avoid things in our life. Why? Because the lies that we tell ourselves. We're not fast enough. We're not strong enough. We're not smart enough. Those are the lies that we tell ourselves. Not smart enough. I'm an introvert. You can't do a podcast. You can't speak. Speaking, whatever it is in your life, there are lies that you tell yourself that are holding you back from becoming the hero. And expectations of others are the boundaries that others put around your life. Everybody, from your wife to your pastor, to your government, loves to put a fence around where you can go and what you can do. And part of that for them is safety. They want you to be safe. It's almost like they put you inside of an egg carton and snap that top on that egg carton closed to keep you safe. They don't want you to make mistakes that are going to waste your time or make you feel frustrated or make you lose money, right? They want you like this. Me being a perfectionist and my dog's barking in the background is a perfect example. I want to start all over, but I'm not going to. Why? Because I'm not going to let those lies of needing to be perfect come through. So one of the biggest challenges we face, though, is this expectations of others. And part of it's because the people that are around us, the people that are the biggest influences in our lives, generally want to keep us safe, right? They're the ones that are saying, hey, I don't think fasting is probably a good idea. Your body needs to eat. Oh, I don't think exercising like that or going on a 12-hour walk is probably very good for you. You better not do it. And their intention is good. They want to keep you safe. They don't want anything to happen to you. They don't want you to make mistakes. But the reality is, those boundaries that they've put on you are going to keep you from going anywhere. So some people are well-intentioned, right? They got good intentions. And others have bad intentions in their expectations. They want to hold you back because that helps keep them comfortable. How are they going to feel about themselves if you start losing weight? How are they going to feel about themselves if you start writing a book? How are they going to feel about themselves if you just don't quit and you keep going after it day after day after day? How does that make them feel? How does that make them look? And we don't like to think that that's what other people in our lives are thinking. We don't want to think that about them. We don't want to think that they have ill intentions. And a lot of times I don't believe those bad intentions even are necessarily they don't realize that that's why they're doing it. But it is definitely for their comfort. So again, let's go over these. We got fear. Fear of flying, fear of a challenge, fear of losing sleep, fear of changing your diet. Any of these things hold you back. Fear from recording a podcast, fear from posting your first blog post, fear of showing up at the homeless shelter, fear of having conversations that you don't want to have. These are holding you back from growing and from becoming who you were meant to be, the hero. This lies. Lies are the lies that you tell yourself, that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you can't rise to the occasion, it's better that you quit. And expectations of others. Those expectations are holding you back. So these three things are keeping that hero covered. They're keeping that hero. You got that stick hero right here. He wants to get up. He wants to battle. He wants to grab that shield back up again and that sword and throw that helmet back on again. Awful little soldier, looking little soldier. But he can't rise to the occasion because he's buried under fear, lies, and the expectations of other people. So this is my theory. That these are it, right? These are three battles that we all must face. So in having this theory, I'm setting out this year to look up different people in the Bible, throughout history, different people that I know even, that had to battle through these three things in order to rise. The first one I did was about Gideon. Go back if you didn't listen to those podcasts. Check those out. I kind of lay down the groundwork. Things are going to get refined as we go. But my intent with this is to make sure that I don't make these three things work in a story where they don't belong. My intent is to make sure that as I'm reading through these different stories, that these rise to the top. And in this story now, we're going to break into about Moses. It took me a little while. It took me a little while to figure out where were the expectations. The fear was obvious quickly. The lies were obvious quickly. But the expectations of others and the challenge that they were escaped me for a little bit. I had to backpedal. I had to backtrack a little bit and read through these sections of the Bible again there in Exodus and read it over and over and over until I was able to discover what I believe were the expectations of others. So let's break into this about Moses. I'm going to grab up my notes here, drop my messy handwriting on my notepad, and break into this a little bit. So I'll begin at the beginning of the story of Moses. Some of you might not remember. Some of you may have never really heard the story before. So I'm going to put it in the Joe version. So the Hebrews were the slaves of the Egyptians during this time. They ended up in that position. If you go back even further in the Bible, this were Joseph and his coat of many colors. He got sold off to the Egyptians. He rose to the ranks of just underneath Pharaoh, and the Hebrews multiplied within this land. And out of fear, the Egyptians enslaved the Hebrew people. And at this juncture, right now, the Hebrews are slaves of the Egyptians. So, when Moses was born, there was like a moratorium on baby boys. And the baby boys were needed to be executed. So, Moses' mom was a very clever woman. And she decided that after it got to a point where she couldn't keep hidden any longer that she had a baby boy, she made a basket, put tar on this basket, and put the baby in the water very near where she knew that the Pharaoh's daughter would go bathing regularly. So when the time came for Pharaoh's daughter to be down there by the Nile, they pushed this little basket into the water, and sure enough, Pharaoh's daughter found this basket. Noticed that there was a baby in there and wanted to keep the baby for herself. Moses' sister came up to Pharaoh's daughter and said, I know a woman that could nurse that baby for you. Would you like me to take the baby to him? She said yes. So Moses' mother got her baby right back again. Was able to raise up the baby at least for a little while longer. And then Moses went and lived in the house of Pharaoh. It's not very specific about when Moses kind of left and started wandering out and seeing his people. But he knew that even though he was a member of the court there and kind of an adopted son of Pharaoh's daughter, he didn't really belong there. And one day, out on a walk and watching his people, the Hebrews, be mistreated and beaten, one of these Egyptians that was beating up the Hebrews, he went to that guy and beat him to death. Now, again, it doesn't really get very specific on how old Pharaoh or Moses was at that time, but he quickly buried the body and thought that things were hidden. Now, the next day Moses comes out and he's kind of walking around again, and he comes up to some Egyptians that are fighting and kind of tries to correct them in their fighting and says, why are you guys fighting? You guys should be brothers. You guys have enough battles on your hand here fight with the Egyptians. You really should find a way to get along. And the Hebrews replied to him was, and what are you going to do? Kill us like you did that Egyptian? And in that moment, you can see that Moses is a man without a people. I think that that's a huge turning point in this story, is to realize that Moses knew he didn't belong with the Egyptians. In fact, to the point where when an Egyptian was beating the people that he thought he belonged to, the Hebrews, he killed them. But then the following day, the Hebrews bring that up and throw it into Moses' face. Rather than a thank you or a camaraderie there because of what he had done, he was shunned by the people that he thought would accept him. So now all of a sudden in that moment, not only did he kill someone, and not only does he find out that Pharaoh wants to kill whoever killed that leader or that slave driver, whatever you want to call him, for the Egyptians, not only that, but now Moses realizes that he has nobody. He's a man without a people. So he wanders off to Midian, or flees to Midian, where he meets a family, marries into that family, and then we don't hear anything about Moses for, I'm thinking if Moses did that in his early 20s, killed that Egyptian, we don't hear about him again till he's in his 80s. So it's almost 60 years later that we hear about Moses again. And Moses encounters the burning bush, right? He finds that burning bush, and that's where, once again, the story takes a completely different shift. Moses has been in hiding, but living his life, living amongst his family, taking care of his flocks, and just kind of living that normal life, living what he wanted to do. And all of a sudden, a calling to rise above and to serve a purpose greater than himself and to serve others comes to the surface when God directs him to help the Israelites, or the Hebrews, flee or escape out of Egypt. So we know very quickly where fear is, right? The fear for Moses in this story, it caused him to flee, is Pharaoh in the court. I think this is an A. So Pharaoh in the royal court, right? That's where his fear is. That's why he ran away. He thought he was going to get killed. That fear pushed him away, and I believe kept him away. So there's one thing that's been burying Moses in the hero from rising, right? Number 2, so we got that. Where were the lies? Well, the lies quickly come to the surface when Moses comes face to face with God in the burning bush. So again, 60 years pass by, or 50 to 60 years passed by, right, before he gets to this, and he has to encounter the fear, lies, and expectations of others, and rise to become a hero. So the lies. So as he encounters this burning bush, God is within this burning bush, and starts to speak with him. And let me look at my notes here. So he's commanded to go. and the lies come to the front, to the point where we'll get to that. So, the first question, after God asks him to go, the first lie that we encounter with Moses is, who am I to go? Who am I? I think this is a lie that a lot of us tell ourselves. Who am I? Who am I that I should go? Who am I that I should do that? Who am I that I can do that? Who am I that I can go there? Who am I that I should speak up? Who am I that I should get uncomfortable because of this situation? This is a common fear amongst all of us. Then, after that, God is very patient with Moses in these lies, which I think is very telling. God knows that we are human, knows that we are have these lies holding us back. So he does a very great and powerful job of walking through each and every one of these lies with Moses to try to quell any fear and the insecurities that he has. So one by one, Moses exposes these lies to God, and he counters them and gives him something, or a tool, or a way that he can leverage something else in order to get past these lies. So the first one is, who am I to go before Pharaoh? Then he's afraid of rejection. He believes that he will be rejected. Right? The Hebrews rejected him earlier in the story. Right? And it was a turning point. So now he believes that he will be rejected. It's a lie. He'll be rejected. It says, who am I to go before Pharaoh? And suppose I go and the Hebrews ask, who sent me? So he thinks they're going to reject him. They're not going to believe who he is or who has sent him. God goes through it and he says, well, if you're rejected, tell him it was me that sent you. And he says, then Moses goes into another insecurity. What if they don't believe me? So again, he thinks that he will not be able to convince them. What if they don't believe me? Right? Is this starting to hit a tone with anybody else? Have any one of you felt that there was something that you should do? Maybe give, maybe talk to somebody, and you think, who am I to talk to that person? Who am I to give? I don't have that much. How many of you don't join a group or join an opportunity to serve because, I could get rejected? Or who of you has had opportunities to speak up and your mind has gone right away to, what if they don't believe? What if they don't believe me? So again, God walks him through that. Then we get to the next one. I'm not a good speaker. So God asks him to do something, or commands him to do something, to free his people. Moses has been living his life. Imagine at that time in the world, there were always hardships. I'm sure he was fending off animals. I'm sure they were dealing with awful weather at different times through the 50 or 60 years. I'm sure that they're dealing with bandits and raiders in their land. But he's asked to do something and these lies are exposed. And he realizes, I'm not a good speaker. Maybe he had a stutter, or maybe he just didn't like, maybe he was an introvert. Doesn't really go into it. We can speculate all we want. But this was a lie that he told himself, that he wasn't a good speaker and he wouldn't be able to communicate the message. And then, after God answers this and tells him what to do, goes through this and explains things through, and this and this. He goes through each of these. And then even though he's given a full explanation, even though he's given tools to leverage, God doesn't get angry until he says this: please send someone else. Then God gets upset. So he says, I've heard the lies that you tell yourself. I've heard these insecurities that you have. I've given you answers to each and every one of them. The reality is, those aren't holding you back, those lies. It's that you don't want to go. So that's when God says, I'll send Aaron with you, and he will help you. So there's your fears and your lies. So, based on these assurances that these are indeed lies and not truths that he believes in himself, he goes off and he meets Aaron. And he meets up with his brother, Aaron, and talks things through with Aaron. They get on the same page. God speaks with Aaron. They're all on the same page, and they are ready to go see the Hebrews. So they make their way there to see the Hebrew leaders and talk over this this mission that they've been sent on, right? To free the Hebrews from the Egyptians, so that they will not only be free, but they are going to go on a journey to the land of milk and honey, the promised land. They are going to be leaving and headed towards the promised land. What a beautiful thing, right? So as Aaron and Moses present this idea to the Hebrew leaders, they accept it. And they are excited about this news. And then Aaron and Moses go before Pharaoh. They go before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh is not having it. Not having it. In fact, he is so dead set against it that he thinks the best way to quash this rebellion, or any sort of idea that might be lingering in the very far back of these Hebrews' mind, is to make their life even more miserable than it already is. So he makes a decree that they will need to make bricks, like they have been, but that the Egyptians would not be supplying the straw. Now that's bad enough, right? Not only will they not be supplying the straw, now you got to go find straw in order to hold these mud bricks together that you have to make. But the bigger problem was there, the quota didn't change. So now they need to collect the straw, need to make the bricks, and need to be making the same amount of bricks that they had in the past. Now, the Hebrew people are not so thrilled with this idea of fleeing Egypt. The land of milk and honey doesn't seem quite so exciting anymore, as they face the dire situation that seems to have been created by Aaron and Moses, of twice as much work in the same amount of time. So this right now, this decree, and now is the beginning of the moment of difficulty, right? It's the first challenge, it's the first difficulty in this trek, right? The fear was overcome. Moses went to the court of Pharaoh and presented this idea of the Egyptians going off and worshiping their God. He got over the lies that he had told himself and went to the Hebrew leaders and presented what God had told him to present. But rarely do things go the way that we want them to do. Rarely do they go the way that they do in the Disney version of Aesop's fables. Rarely. And from the get-go, there is a major challenge. A stick was stuck in the spokes of this wonderful idea of the land of milk and honey. And now Moses becomes the enemy. Moses is seen as the enemy rather than Pharaoh, because Moses they blame for this right here. This is on Moses. Now the expectations of others is established, right? The expectations of the other Hebrews now is for Moses to just go away. Forget this. You've caused enough trouble. Please just go away and leave us alone. As we talked about earlier, the expectations of others will hold you back from getting hurt, as well as are there to hold them back from getting hurt. But Moses does not quit. He does not allow those expectations to stop him from moving forward with the plan and becoming the hero in the story. But here's the reality. It was only through overcoming these fears, these lies, and these expectations of others did Moses also prepare himself for 40 years in the wilderness. I don't believe that had Pharaoh let the Hebrews go right away, I don't believe that Moses would have been prepared to lead the Hebrew people for 40 years in the desert. Yes, he didn't quit on his fears, battled through those lies as those lies were laid to rest, and he battled through these expectations of the other Hebrews who started to just see Moses as the one that was causing more trouble and making their lives more difficult. But if Moses had not battled through that fear, battled through those lies, and battled through those expectations of these other people, he never would have made it through these 40 years. And it's the same for you in your life today. It is exactly the same for you and exactly the same for me. I am a very visual person. Visualizing things has helped me overcome a lot in my life. It's helped me overcome and see bouts of depression differently. So when I work through something like this idea of what I'm calling here hero theory, I have a very vivid pictures in my mind. And for those of you that are visual people like me, maybe this idea will be of help to you as well. I envision these three things, lies, fear, and expectations of others, as beasts. As beasts. As mighty monsters that must be defeated, must be held in check in order for you to truly rise and be the hero. At the moment, maybe you are in a spot of difficulty or a spot of weakness or a spot of knowing that you need to rise to a challenge. Whatever that challenge is, wherever it is that you need to go, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do, these are the three monsters that you will need to face in order to get from one side to the other. Once you defeat these beasts, does not mean that that battle is over forever, but you must keep them continually in check. But in order to do so, you need to have that battle. You need to educate yourself. You need to be honest with yourself and evaluate yourself in these three areas and how those things are holding you back. Then you must go to battle and get through. But it is actually that battle with these three beasts that prepares you for wherever it is that you're trying to go. Whatever that challenge is that you're trying to face. Whatever it is that you feel a calling on your life to do. Because you were meant for more than what this comfortable lifestyle that has become so popular, and the Disney story of life that has become so popular here in the West. You were meant to survive struggles. You were meant to fight off bandits. You were meant to go through famine. Your body was built in a way that it can survive that stuff, those difficulties. And you were built to fight off the fears, the lies, and the expectations of others. So my hope is that in seeing these different examples of hero theory, and the next one, I'm going to try to pick out somebody that isn't in the Bible, but somebody maybe that we know throughout history that rose to the occasion, that stepped up and went above and beyond others in order to serve a bigger purpose and in order to serve others. And I don't think that you could find a better example than what Gideon did and what Moses did to step up to the challenge, to put yourself in the position to be a leader for thousands and thousands of people, to battle it out, even though God's on his side, to battle it out with Pharaoh, to show up time after time in his court and request that he let his people go and be denied and go back and be denied and have the people that he's supposed to be leading out of Egypt actually upset with him too and frustrated with what is going on and what is happening. So maybe you are not called to lead thousands of people out of Egypt. You are not called to go before the court of Pharaoh time after time after time. But you are called to do something great. We are all here to serve others in our way. Whether that be going to a local shelter, or a soup kitchen, or having a podcast, or doing a blog, or writing a book, or starting a magazine, or collecting money for charities. Whatever it is, there is something bigger that you can start to do right now. Maybe it's stepping up in your community. Maybe it's stepping up in your church. A way to serve other people. A way to serve a purpose that's bigger than you. But just a word of warning. And I think that this will probably prove true in this idea, this theory of heroes. Not only will you have to face down the fear, the lies, and the expectations of others. But I have a feeling that after you do that and you embark on your journey, just like that first encounter with Pharaoh really changed everything. It would have been easy at that point to quit, to go back the other direction, to leave this, because you only caused more trouble for people. You only made things more difficult for people, that you had made a mistake. Don't give up. You know what your mission is. If you know where you're supposed to go and you have that purpose set in your life, continue moving forward. Don't give up. You've got it. You don't battle alone. Dads, are you feeling stuck? Are you feeling lost, frustrated, and that you are lacking a purpose? Just like we talked about in this episode today. Are you in a rut, going through the motions day after day and feeling like you're getting nowhere? If I could guarantee to get you out of this rut and give you clarity and direction in your life and help you feel confident in yourself and your decisions and help you find your purpose, would you take me up on that offer? Here's how it would work. You work with me one-on-one. We meet each week via Zoom for 45 minutes for 12 weeks. This is what I'll provide for you. A personalized plan to get you unstuck and very clear on where you are going. Weekly video lessons so that you can learn what you need to do, and assignments to put into practice what you have learned. And challenges along the way to get you outside of your comfort zone where growth occurs and confidence is born. And I'll even provide the required books, including my favorite book on leadership, an awesome leather-bound journal, several field notebooks, and the supplies needed for you to succeed delivered right to your front door in the U.S. If you're outside of the U.S., we'll get more creative and we'll figure out a way to make sure that you get what you need to succeed. Now, what will be required from you? There will be effort and sacrifice involved. Everything of value has a price. But I will be with you every step of the way and with 24/7 support via text so you can be kept on task. You will need to show up on time and be prepared for the one-on-one calls, complete the lessons, challenges, and assignments, but don't worry. Where you right now see uncertainty in your life, I see your potential. I have been there and have experienced this journey myself firsthand. Now, what happens if you show up on time and prepared for our calls? You complete the lessons, challenges, and assignments for the 12 weeks of the program, and you don't have clarity and direction in your life. You don't feel confident about yourself and your decisions, and you don't find your purpose, then I will keep coaching you for free until you do. There's absolutely no risk to you of not leveling up. The program isn't about change, and it's not about evolution. It's about a new you. It's about uncovering the hero that is within you, but that has been buried under the years of lies, fear, and expectations of others. Sure, you can continue doing nothing, but as you know where that leads. You can try doing it yourself and reading countless books and watching a bunch of YouTube videos. Be careful, those cat videos are distracting. And listening to hours of podcasts, hoping to find something that clicks. But you're serious about taking control of your life, dropping the excuses and becoming the husband, father, and leader that you want to be. Let's schedule a strategy call where we can design a plan to get you out of that rut and headed where you want to go. If that sounds interesting to you, send me an email to heroes wanted if that sounds interesting to you and you would be interested in having a strategy call, not a sales call, a call where we can clarify where you are at in your life at this moment and where it is that you want to go, and start to form a plan, a roadmap to get you where you want to go. If that sounds good to you, send me an email at jprim@heroeswanted.us, or you can go to my Linktree account, or it's actually not Linktree, it is sleekbio.com/heroes wanted. That is sleekbio.com/heroes wanted. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Prepare.Defend.Lead. Or you can find me on Facebook at Joe M. Prim. Send me a DM or let's start a conversation on Instagram or on Facebook. These will all be in the show notes for this podcast episode. As always, hold fast and God bless.